Thank you so much, Salma. It's very nice having you. You are one of the top achievers in the world. Just to let viewers know, Salma, not just that she scored a 9, which is an A star, of course, but she also got 200 out of 200 in chemistry. So, which is basically like it's overwhelming. It's like a big deal, of course. And it basically means like she is the top of the world. It's hard to believe, right? So the reason we have you here today, Salma, which I really appreciate your time, is I really want to inspire students. This is a big deal. This is an inspiring students. I do realize not all students want to achieve 200 out of 200. Some students just want to pass. Some students just want to get the A star, which is a great goal, of course, and it's totally enough to get into university and everything. But some students do want to be this high achiever, and it does have advantages, right? I mean, some of the advantages is self-confidence. Like you get confident. I don't want to like talk
Right.
about. I think I'm gonna let you talk about it. So we're gonna start the story from the very beginning. You studied with me. You took the course for 2 years, grade 9 and 10, and then took
Yes.
the chemistry exam at the end of grade 10. So tell me just a little bit about what you thought about chemistry before joining the course.
Right. So my experience with chemistry was pretty much limited because it was only like a pre-IG course, and I used to take it in year 9, but obviously it wasn't as broad as IGCSE chemistry. It's very different from the chemistry you take in previous years, like in year 9 and all of that. So I guess it was very different for me, but I felt very comfortable around chemistry because it wasn't as different, like compared to biology or physics. It's pretty much, in the scope, you can kind of understand it, and it starts from the basics, solids, liquids, and gases. So it starts from the very basics, and then it gets a little harder. But I think that I kind of like fell in love with the subject ever since like day one, and I love like growing up. I used to like chemistry and sciences in general, and I'm more into practical subjects than theoretical ones. So I
Mhm.
found chemistry pretty interesting to me, how it related to real life. So honestly, I just love the subject from day one, and I found the subjects, like the topics within chemistry, very interesting to me, and I could relate to them in my real life. So yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And I could tell like you loved every time we talked about the application of something, you were like, oh, I didn't know we can do that. So
Mhm.
that's
Exactly.
really amazing. So in as far as I mean, like I said, you got a perfect score. Was that your goal when you started the course with us?
I'll be completely honest. I mean, obviously, an A star was like an obvious goal. Like, I
An
want to get
obvious
into a
goal.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into a good university. I want to have like perfect A stars, and high achiever was definitely on my list. I just promised myself from day one that if I don't get it, I won't be sad because that would have been disappointing. But
Nice.
it was definitely a goal. Like I always aim for higher than I could so that I can kind of work harder for a greater goal. So yeah, outstanding was definitely on my list.
Wow. So that day you texted me and you said something like, Miss Nirvana, are you here? Like you just wanted to see if I'm online. And I was like, this
Yeah, I
sounds
wanted like a live
something.
reaction. I wanted a live reaction. I wanted you to be there to react on time.
Yes,
So
exactly, exactly. But because you texted saying, Miss Nirvana, are you here? I had a feeling there's something like the scores are out. I knew, I mean, we knew you got a 9,
mhm.
but how did that feel getting this news?
I honestly was in shock. I I obviously expected, like, you reach this point when you kind of expect you're getting an A star because you know how hard you worked. But outstanding, like I said earlier, I was like, if I do get it, great. I'm more than happy to get it. But if I don't get it, I'm not going to cry over something, that's way beyond expectations. So when I did get it, I cried. I told my mom I celebrated, and we were both very happy. So it's like, imagine if you set a goal for yourself, and after 2 years of learning and 2 years of hard work, you finally reach that goal, and you're one of millions of students around the world. So what are the chances that you're the one who actually gets what you want? So it was
Yeah.
surreal, to be honest. I was
Yeah.
really excited.
And how did your family feel?
Oh, they're I can't even explain it. They were really happy for me. And, right before the exam, I was asking my mom and dad, like, do you think I can do it? They were like, yeah, you can do it. Why not? I'm like, do you really think I can do it? And they gave me a lot of support. So I give a lot of the credit to my parents because of the support they gave me, and they just made me trust myself that I can actually do it.
Yes, yes. And you could. I mean, the way you studied, like it was, yeah, it was evidence that you totally can. So, um, now everybody knows that all you need to go to a good university is an A star. Like scoring the top of the world is not going to really matter in regards to the logistics in your application. But
It
I
does. It does kind of matter though.
exactly, I
To
want
be
to talk
honest,
about
when a
that.
university sees on your application that you have like the highest in the world, like full mark, perfect score, it does obviously matter. Like they can tell you're a hard worker, so your chances of getting in are definitely higher than anyone else. So it
Yes.
does matter.
Yes, exactly. That's what I wanted to get at because yeah, on paper, those who got A star can get into a really good university and everything, things will be fine. I mean, whoever is watching, guys, it's okay. You guys are fine. You don't have to get the full score. However, if you're capable and you can do it, do it. Because, like you said, your application shows that it's something you can bring up in an interview. So if you bring it up in an interview, it's going to look really good. You're going to pass the interview with flying colors.
Mhm.
Job interviews also in the future, when an potential employer asks, like, what are some of your strengths? Like, what you can say something like, when I put something in my head, when I decide on a goal, I attain it because look at my records. I can do it.
And apart from like the numbers, you have the obvious advantage of you're a hard worker. You have this like
Confidence.
perk over other people and
Yes.
confidence over other people, and you can work harder in the future. Like you can actually achieve something in the future because you've achieved something right now, so it gives you the confidence over other people.
True. So, Selma, what do you want to do moving forward?
I haven't really decided what I want to do in the future, but I do know it's something science related, that
Mm,
chemistry related, definitely 100%, because I love chemistry. Maybe something in the STEM field, but I'm not exactly sure where in the STEM field.
yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, obviously, next year I'll be doing AS chemistry, not this year, because I really want to focus on it. Like I told you, I don't want to. I'm doing four O levels this year, so I don't want to
Yeah,
pressure
it's a
chemistry
lot.
and all that. So yeah, so I want to really focus on it next year and get a good grade, hopefully, like I did this year.
Awesome. So you have this year and next year to think about what you want to do in the future and stuff, right? So I will ask you, what advice do you want to give students like who want to do what you did? But before I ask you this very important question that I know everybody's looking forward for, I want to ask you about the course that you experienced, like my course, the chemistry course, which was online and in a group. Like, what was can you describe your experience?
So I am a very organized person. I don't really like spontaneous courses, like I really like ordered. So the number one thing I look for in a course is that it's very ordered, very organized, and you did not disappoint in that matter. So yeah, and all of the resources were there, and honestly, your support was great. So I'm very thankful for that. Thank you for that. And whenever I had any doubts, any questions, they would all be answered. And it's not very common between teachers that you find a teacher that's very supportive and they really focus on the student and they really want what's best for you. So that's something I really appreciated. And obviously the course, office hours, everything was just like perfect. Homeworks, there was a lot of following up from teachers, so that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, what did you find most helpful? You mentioned several things: office hours, our support, responding to messages, following up on homework. If it's not done, we will say, hey, it's not done. Like the organization, of course, like here's what you do
Yeah.
today, here's what you do next week, and knowing exactly what you need to do each week. So these are all important for the student. So what would you say was the most helpful?
The number one thing would be answering my doubts. Like
Answering.
that's the most important thing. Because I tend to, well, I don't overthink, but like during the lesson, I understand the lesson and everything, but I like to go a little beyond the scope and,
Yeah.
look at a broader view of the subject, the topic we're taking. So I have a lot of questions by the end of the lesson. And if a teacher just depends on the lesson and you're like, the teacher would be like, oh, I'm done, my work here is done, and they don't really care about what happens after. I wouldn't really be comfortable around that because I do have a lot of doubts, like I said. So yeah, I'd say that was the best part about the course, getting my
Awesome.
questions answered.
Awesome. And I just want to let viewers know what Selma is talking about. So after the lesson is over and after Selma does the homework, she usually has like what if questions, like nuanced questions or questions between the lines. She would read the notes or the syllabus and say, what do you mean here? Do we need to know first? Like the questions were not like, hey, can you explain this again? It was more like, can the examiner asks about this? Is it possible that these chemicals would react in this way? The what if questions. And I have to tell you, these are amazing questions. I love them. And especially towards the exams, because your questions were not regular questions, not like, oh, I forgot. Can you remind me? It was not like that. Some students do that. That'd be totally fine. That's okay. But your questions were like like they were deep. And when I saw these questions coming, I was like, okay, I know what's going on here. I know she's going to do really well because they were, really deep. And it shows that you really understood the syllabus very well, very deeply. And that's how those questions come up. So,
Yeah,
so
I'll have
yeah,
to say though, students don't really have to go too far beyond the
true.
syllabus because, if you overthink things, it might be a disadvantage rather than an advantage. So, I'd say you can ask questions, you can understand a little better than what's in the book or what's in your notes. Because when you get the actual exam and then you find, just simple questions, they're not that in depth, you'll find them way easier than what you're practiced or what you're used to at home. So don't go too far, but also be kind of, curious about what you're learning about.
Yes, I love this as advice. Be curious. And then my advice to students is if you feel like you're going too far, ask me. I will tell you, hey, this is too far. Don't think it. The exams will come in this way. You just write that. Don't overthinking. Otherwise, if you do, then you might answer something that the examiner is not looking for. We're worried you're gonna lose a mark. So, you know, ask and I will let you know, hey, this is too much. I get those questions and I let them know, hey, this is O level. Do not overthink it. That's how exams come. They will never do this to you on exams. I mean, some students, sometimes students are like, what if the examiner does that? And I reassure them, Cambridge has existed in like since 1984, and we know how far questions can go. So, Salma, my last and most important question for you is what if a student is watching this and they really got inspired and they not just want to get the A star or the 9, but they really want to do something about it. They want to really get a score, maybe a 200 or maybe 195, maybe 193, but a score. I mean, to get an A star, all you have to get is, I think, 165, 170, maybe is a really good score to get out of 200. But what if the student watching this got really inspired and they want to get the 190 some or even 200? What's your advice to them? What should they do?
All right, so firstly, I would recommend everyone to aim for the 200 because why not, right? We
Why
were
not?
all, yeah, because we don't have double digit IQs and we're all smart in a way. We all have our unique perks over other people. So I'd recommend everyone just to aim for the highest possible. Who knows, you might get it, right? It could be
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
So my advice would be just work hard from day one. Uh, I guess my mistake last year, which I hope I won't be repeating this year, is that I used to kind of pressure study. So like rather than study every day bits by bits, I would study everything in like one book. And it's really bad. Just don't do that. I'd recommend to study everything as you take it and just don't pressure yourself at the end. It would be better. Uh, and yeah, just work hard from day one and trust the process, I guess. You won't be perfect from day one. You won't get full marks from day one. But by the end of the year, you'll find yourself getting, closer to what you want. Even if on the exam day you answer a past paper and you get bad marks, which is what happened to me. Like I would be studying and then I'd do like a trial past paper thing and I lose marks, right? And I would be devastated. Like the exam is tomorrow and I'm losing marks, but it doesn't matter. Just remember, it's always better to lose marks or like get wrong questions before the exam than on the exam itself. And another thing would be if you find any, strange points or like hard, complex concepts and or any questions that are kind of you don't really understand, I'd recommend you write them all down in one paper, and then on the exam day, instead of like studying from this book, these notes and all these resources that are everywhere, just study from that one piece of paper that has all that important information that you keep on forgetting, or those like unique questions you found in the mark scheme or like the past papers. So yeah.
Wow, I love this advice. So, number one, study from day one. No cramming, no
Yes.
procrastination. Something every day. It accumulates. It accumulates very beautifully. You don't feel it, but it happens. And number two, you advise something like I do this. I did this in my pharmacy exams, in my board exam. What I did is things that I couldn't remember very well, I put it in an index card, and that's what I take with me going to the exam. That's what I look at in the car, and that's
Mm,
the last thing my eyes go on it. And the third thing you said, trust the process. I love it. Trust the process. Just do your work every single day or every single week, and you'll find yourself, accomplishing stuff, and your grades will go up. And then you also mentioned, do not be discouraged, do not be disappointed, because you will. You also mentioned practice, so do not be disappointed when you don't get marks. It's better to do the mistake now than do it in the real Cambridge exam. And number five is practice a lot of past papers. You practiced a lot of past papers. You solved,
right.
to solve them, I would say twice. Once during the 2 years as a classified, meaning only after a certain topic, you would only do past papers on this topic, right? And then at the end of the year, you did full past papers, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And it's fine because maybe I got a question wrong in the classified and then I got it wrong in the past papers. But if you get something wrong twice, you know for a fact you're not gonna get it wrong another time. So it's really fine. Like they tell you, make mistakes, you're gonna learn from them. But honestly, it's true. It's 100% true. Like make mistakes. If you get something wrong, you're more likely to remember it later than if you get it right from the first time. So
That's
it's
right.
totally fine. Yeah.
That's right. Selma, thank you so much. I know you are an inspiration. And from like that day, I was like, I wonder if Selma can get on a video and tell people, hey, you can do it. And I love that I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, what's your advice? And you were like, anybody can do it. Anybody, literally anybody can do it. It's not rocket science. And chemistry can be easy if digested in small parts, and like you said, start from day one and do your work every single day regularly, and it will happen. And everybody can should totally have this goal, aim for 200 out of 200. And I love that you have faith and confidence in everyone, and tell everyone, hey, yes, anybody can do it. So that's really amazing. Thank you again so much, Salma. I Please stay in touch. I know you are in touch, and your sister is actually taking the course with us this year, so that's amazing. So I hope to hear wonderful things about you in regards to the 4O level you have, the AS, next year's AS chemistries. I know you will do great things. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Bye.